Hey everybody, what is going on? It is October 2023 and I have another introduction video for the Gospel of the Kingdom. And the title of this would be 5 Things that the Gospel of the Kingdom is doing currently. To start out, I want to read Acts chapter 17 verse 5. But the Jews were jealous, and taking some wicked men of the rabble, they formed a mob, setting the city in an uproar, and attacked the house of Jason, seeking to bring them out to the crowd. And when they could not find them, they dragged Jason and some of the brothers before the city authorities, shouting, "These men who have turned the world upside down have come here also." And Jason has received them, and they are all acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there's another king, Jesus. So there are 5 distinct things that the gospel of the kingdom is doing that I'd like to point to today. And these things are still happening today. So number 1, the gospel of the kingdom explains what was happening before God created, back in the center of God, back before time, back before he said, "Let there be light." It tells of why God created the universe and humanity in the first place. The gospel of the kingdom explains what the Bible calls God's eternal purpose. In the book of Ephesians, it's mentioned. It's why we exist, why we're here, what all this is for. Another way of saying it is what happened before the Big Bang. Why were we just created so we can go to heaven someday? There's much more to it than that. Most of humanity wonders why we exist. The purpose, the eternal purpose, is much grander than even that, than even going to heaven. And it needs to be understood and heard and taught much more than it is today. It needs to be understood and then proclaimed at the top of voices all over the earth. It cannot be condensed into these 40-minute sermons without stripping it of much of its power. Number 2, the gospel of the kingdom is explaining what is wrong with the earth, with humanity, and why human suffering is still such a thing currently. And very important, who is controlling the earth from a spiritual perspective. What are the bounds and the limits of Satan's and the Lord's control of things and influence of things? The gospel of the kingdom explains all that. Number 3, the gospel of the kingdom contains God's recovery program or project. It details and describes it, but it is not only that. It tells of how God, since the fall of man, has been working on bringing humanity back to his eternal purpose for creating in the first place. It's like a detour. We're on a detour. But the detour ends. It's winding down, and we are getting back on track, onto his intended plan and track. Number 4, the gospel of the kingdom provides guidance to his people, to us, to the church, the ecclesia of Jesus Christ in the earth. The church, it is its own discipleship program. It is its own church planning program. The gospel of the kingdom takes months to share, and the result of it is a church, and it is the glory of God seen in the earth. It is the framework for how we organize ourselves in the church. It provides guidance to Christians for what is our ministry, what we are to do when we gather, what we are not to do when we gather, how we are to do it. It guides us in who to put in charge during our gatherings and who not to put in charge. It provides a foundation under us upon which we interact with one another, how we treat one another, how we develop our relationships with love, with Christ's love, and not with tradition or man-centered practices that were borrowed from philosophers and from other religions. The gospel of the kingdom eliminates all that. And it also eliminates the need for all that. And number 5, which is what I'm sort of excited about this one, because there's so much turmoil going on in Israel and Palestine right now. And this one in particular, I think, is so exciting because nobody realizes what's going on spiritually. The gospel of the kingdom causes great turmoil in the earth. It aggravates and it instigates the demonic powers. Like I mentioned in the first Acts 17, when I mentioned at the start of this video, it is the source of great turmoil and overturning, and there's a resetting going on of the powers as they are pushed back. And it results in tremendous turmoil and murder and wars. But there is a progress that's happening toward the universal reign of Jesus Christ in all the earth. He will dominate all nations. He will take over all things and all peoples. And that causes what people in the book of Acts called and accused the Christians of turning the world upside down. So the gospel of the kingdom is itself also the revival that so many Christians talk about and hope for and pray for. It is bringing with it a fuller and much larger measure of Jesus Christ than most of us have. He is an ongoing revival in himself. And so these 5 things really excite me, as I said earlier, and I think that, if we could understand and be prepared in our own selves to hear the gospel of the kingdom, then as these videos I hoped are doing to prepare us to hear it, then we will understand the world we live in much better. We'll understand what Jesus is doing. We'll be able to recognize it when we see it, and even begin to share the comfort and the consolation and the hope we have in Christ as we watch him do things in the earth. So I'm going to close here, and I appreciate your listening, and I hope to have some more videos coming here shortly. Bye.